We're talking about Rufus AI in today's episode and the implications that it has on the not so distant future as well as the present. I think this is a really important episode for a lot of reasons that, of course, you'll hear in the episode itself. Rufus is perhaps one example of many for how advertising and selling could change in the not so distant future. I think Amazon might change the way that products are shown, displayed, and discovered by customers, and also could change the way that advertisers and sellers sell and advertise products. Kiri is well equipped to talk all about this. So let's get into Rufus AI and the implications for the not so distant future. Look, first off, let's just talk about Rufus, what it is. Can you explain to everyone listening what Rufus AI is exactly?
Yeah, absolutely. So Rufus is Amazon's native AI shopping assistant. I think everyone listening would have seen it. It's been out for at least 9 months now. And with varying degrees of interest and adoption, I think, amongst consumers. When I was looking at putting some posts together on this topic, I was doing some some SEO keyword research on a tool. And one of the most popular queries when you look at Amazon Rufus is, how do I turn Amazon Rufus off?
Was it? That's hilarious. That's so funny.
So it's not quite like this beloved part of the
Yeah.
Amazon shopping experience yet, because when it like anything AI, right? When it first launched, it wasn't that smart or capable. I think the thing with a lot of this AI technology that we have to remember is this is the worst it's going to be. And Amazon is, as they always have, they will ship things and start iterating and gather more data and improve the tool beyond that. So I think it would be foolish to look at the way Rufus currently works and conclude that this tool doesn't make sense. It's not really going to help people and it's not going to be adopted.
Yeah.
I think we're just at the beginning of that journey. And essentially the use case is it's a different way to discover and find products that you're looking for. So instead of just searching for something with something very specific, like a cell phone case with, this MagSafe feature or something like that. You might go to Rufus and ask a little bit more of a dynamic question about a problem or a need that you have and allow Rufus to surface the most relevant results to you.
This is it's an interesting feature, and I think that some sellers might just stop there and say, okay, this is a interesting feature that Amazon's integrating. Maybe it'll phase out like Amazon's social media. I forget what it was called. What was their
Spark.
Spark?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like,
Spark. Oh my gosh, you're
yeah,
taking me
yeah.
back. That's 2017 Amazon.
I know. It's a
Yeah.
throwback. But like, if sellers have been in the space, like maybe they're thinking like, okay, well, maybe this is another Spark thing that'll just like phase out.
Yeah.
I personally think it's a little bit different than that. There's a great way for them to gather some data. But, in the seller's mind, can you answer the question of like, why is this significant? You mentioned like some people being worried about Rufus. Like maybe can you explain some of the thoughts that are going on in the industry right now surrounding it?
Yeah, well, in general, I think as humans, we're scared of things that we don't understand, and that's probably what we can spend some time on today is breaking down how Rufus is designed. And there was a group of really smart people who found the patent for Rufus, and we should definitely link to the original report in the show notes.
Definitely.
And just breaking down the patent and how Rufus is built and kind of a little bit more of the implications for sellers as well. And so I think if we look at those building blocks and understand Rufus, it gives us some clues as to like why is Amazon doing this as well? Like where do they think consumer behavior is heading? What do they think a better consumer like shopping interaction is going to look like? And where things are going, I kind of have to agree. And I do really think that when the experience is good,
Hmm.
which it's arguably not quite there yet, it's going to replace the traditional search bar
Yep.
on Amazon. And I think that we're going to also see other retailers take notice, or even outside of other retailers, this search bar
Hmm.
that we've come to see as like just the center point of a retailer experience,
Hmm.
.com experience. I think that search bar may not be the main way that we interact with a retailer's product catalog in 2 years. I think
Hmm.
that we might be interacting with AI assistants more than a search bar
Yeah. Interesting.
in that period of time.
Yeah. What do you think that could look like? I'm a visual learner, so I'm trying to visualize this.
Right.
So what, and that might
Well,
be beyond this, but just even the fact that it's connected, what do you think that could be like?
at the risk of bringing too many concepts in, I think that now that we have such great conversational AI with we can talk to, I don't know if you've like done the talk mode with ChatGPT.
Mhm.
There is talk mode with, if you use Notebook LM from Google
Yep.
and you do that podcast feature,
Yep.
you
Yep.
can ask the podcast host questions. So it is like getting built into all different sort of AI models, the ability to speak and for it to listen and understand and respond back to you. So I think that like this is just my opinion, but like I think that we will sort of see these voice assistants that have kind of been stagnant for a long time in terms of their usability and sort of their technological advancements, like Siri and Alexa and Google Voice are kind of like they were cool when they launched and then they just didn't really get any better.
Yeah.
And I think that with this technology, they're going to get better, and it provides a new way of interacting with a with a retailer as well. If you can actually speak and ask questions on the fly rather than waiting to sit down and like type a search query into a search bar. I think eventually we're going to be able to, like, we're on the bus or we're driving or whatever, just ask a question.
Yeah.
Verbally
Yeah.
to these shopping assistants, and it will be able to respond back or save a search to come back to later when we can look at it. I think
It's
that
it's
is also within reach.
it's interesting, right? Like the components were disjointed prior. Like Alexa, was useful,
Mm.
but maybe only useful for a certain number of queries. Like home integration's cool, but like, okay, Alexa, turn off the lights or whatever. But beyond that,
Hmm.
Rufus being kind of the center point connector for a lot of these different aspects on Amazon and in your home, it becomes pretty powerful when you start to connect, like, okay, your shopping behaviors with different aspects of like even your home or other things that AI can unlock more than that. Um, so that's really a really interesting point. Let's go back to kind of, okay, like the implications for sellers and maybe some other things, maybe some fears as well. So there's a big implication here of like maybe discoverability, a different way for customers to find products. What other aspects of Rufus
Hmm.
do you think, like, are we currently seeing that also impact sellers?
Yeah, well, maybe we can talk about some of the underlying technology from the patent
Yeah,
report.
let's do it.
So there's three that I think are relevant to understand how this works. So the first is called the semantic similarity model, and that is represents this fundamental shift from keyword matching to understanding context and meaning in natural language. And so this is something like in the report, the example is when a customer asks, how do you take off gel nails? Rufus doesn't just match the keywords in there, which is gel nails, and show you gel nail, whatever, like a
Remover, whatever. Yeah.
yes. It actually understands what type of product is the correct product for that purpose. So pure acetone is apparently what you need for that. And so then Rufus is creating these bridges
Mm.
between relevant products and will understand when you say gel nails, you need something that's a little different to like a regular type of nail.
Wow.
polish remover. So that's semantic similarity. And that means, the implication there is like this, being super specific about keywords and tracking keywords and ranking for keywords. All of that is sort of irrelevant, right? Because Rufus is deciding for itself what solutions your product is best suited for, who it's best suited for, what situations it's best suited for, and it is doing that matching rather than you necessarily having anything about gel nail removal in your keywords and the title or the back end or whatever.
Yeah. Wow. That's wild.
So
That,
that's the first pillar there.
mhm.
The second is called click training data. And this is where Rufus is learning from which products customers click on after specific queries.
Mm.
And so this is where I think we could also see some personalization coming in terms of when I search for gel nail remover, what product it might give me a set of 3 or 5 or whatever, it's a small selection, and explain, which ones, how they're differentiated, which ones do I click on. And where I see the personalization coming in there is obviously Amazon has all this information about me as a consumer, and they understand my interests and my demographics and things like that. So that will perhaps inform Rufus showing a similar product to people who are like me in my like similar audiences. So that wasn't explicitly called out in the patent, but sort of reading between the lines there, I think
Sure.
I mean, that's obviously certainly possible with advertising, is to, group into different demographics and things like that. And I think that that's where we can see a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean
That's
that's been
why we're
theorized
seeing.
too outside, even outside of
Yeah.
Amazon, like with the pixels changing for tracking people, AI being a solution for some of these people like Meta, Google, and beyond to
Mm.
target people with interests, like leveraging AI to categorize people to show them the right ads versus using a pixel on them to track them to show them the right products, right? So this
Okay.
I've certainly heard this before, and it certainly I think would make
Yeah.
sense for Rufus to integrate something like that to again enhance the consumer experience and see more personalized products meant for me, which I think would be, an enhancement. Well, I'm curious to hear the third one. We can kind of talk about the implications beyond
Yeah.
this, but
Yeah, we
uh,
can come back to personalization later. But the
sure.
final one is called visual label tagging. And this is processing, this is really cool. Processing product images alongside text. So not just understanding text, but actually looking at things like lifestyle images
Mm,
and understanding the context that products are used
jeez.
in.
Wow.
Things like diagrams, understanding like, how different components relate to each other. So moving beyond just like text enhanced understanding of a product and towards how feeding visual elements into Rufus's understanding of what your product is, who it's for, how it can be used.
The implications for this are actually enormous. I think for changing
Mm.
the way, truly, in my opinion, Amazon hasn't really changed the way people shop in quite a while. Not as like fundamental as what
Yeah.
these imply. And I see a
Yeah.
huge potential shift coming from these changes.
I think the other thing that we're on the lookout for, that as soon as this launched, the immediate question was, well, when are there going to be ads in Rufus?
Yep.
And we're already seeing them. We're seeing
Okay.
them sporadically, and these would be like some kind of auto-targeted ad, because there's not an option in the ad console to like create a Rufus ad right now.
Hmm.
But we are seeing just sort of in kind of random categories sponsored product ads in Rufus search results.
Interesting. And so the implication there would just be potentially an entirely new category for products brands to advertise in that has consumer attention, basically.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it is going to be uh, it was included in the release notes of the November
Yep.
API documentation last year, to say that Rufus could be integrated into the
Mhm.
API.
I can already imagine. I'm putting myself in the shoes of a seller, asking myself, how can I prepare for this? Like, how can I? What can I do now? Can I do anything now? What do you think? What is the word on the street for like what the best way to prepare for this thing is right now, currently?
Yeah, there's two really. I think the first is to um, pause any under efforts underway to over engineer your product listings with keywords and
Yeah.
keyword stuffing essentially.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's you would know better than me, Cameron, but I don't think that's worked really for a
Hasn't
while.
worked for a while.
And with the direction that things are going in with Rufus, it's certainly not going to work in the future. And then the other piece is just to watch and be curious about this space. I think, like we talked about at the beginning, there can be a bit of a fear of the unknown, and then also a little bit of resistance in a category sense. And we see this in different categories um, where brands or retailers will say, look, this is just, it's not going to work in my category. The apparel, for example, I remember back when I first got started in this industry, the likes of Macy's would say, well, people are not going to buy jeans online. We're not concerned about this Amazon thing.
Yeah.
And we're going to, when this is not going to change anything. Come on. And, you know, the crazy thing is that arguably, apparel is the category that has been changed the most by AI, and
Definitely.
that's through retailers like Shein.
Yeah.
And Shein is using Shein is using AI algorithms to figure out what styles to manufacture and sell and serve up to customers, and they have been doing that for a couple of years and are extremely successful at that. So I would caution people to be against being too defensive and saying
Yeah.
this is not going to work for me. It's not going to work in my category. People are always going to shop the way that they have in the past. History shows us that that is not true.
And Kiri, before we just kind of end the conversation, how can people contact you, connect with you? What's the best way to stay in touch with you?
Yeah, if you like this topic and you're curious to follow more, I'm really going deep on this in my podcast. It's called Retail Media Breakfast Club. And as I mentioned, it's a 10-minute daily episode, dropping daily. So you can squeeze it in when you're walking the dog or unstacking the dishwasher or whatever you do in the morning. It comes out at 6 a.m. Eastern each day.
Nice.
And I talk a lot, I'm covering a lot about AI because that seems to be an area people are curious just to stay on top of. But I also talk about more broad, like industry themes around retail media. So check
Nice.
out Retail Media Breakfast Club.
I'll link it. There's probably enough just with AI alone to do 10 minutes every single day, like only on AI
Yeah,
development. Like it's crazy
exactly.
out there. Kiri, thank you so much again for joining us. Thank you for talking about Rufus AI and the broader AI space. Looking forward to more conversations hopefully in the future. And until then, I'll see you next time. Thanks again. Well, that's the episode for today, talking about Rufus AI with Kiri Masters. Thank you so much for being here. The three biggest takeaways. Takeaway number one, Rufus AI is changing how products are discovered on Amazon. So traditional keyword-based search is out. It's not completely out, but it's changing a little bit. And Rufus AI shifts product discovery towards more semantic understanding, contextual relevance, and consumer based insights. So, this means that sellers need to optimize their listings for clarity and context, not just keywords. Takeaway number two, visual content is more important than ever. So, Amazon's starting to analyze not just text, but also product images and potentially video as well, but product images specifically. So, high quality lifestyle images, comparison charts, images that are used in your listing, video that's used in your listing, all of this is important now, but also will become more and more important down the line. And finally, last but not least, takeaway number three, AI powered ads and personalized search are on the horizon. Amazon is already testing advertising with Rufus AI, and this opens the door for a completely new category of AI powered advertising. Really big stuff, really big implications for the future. Much more on this to come. I expect more conversations like this to emerge. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Human in the Loop today. and I'll see you next time.